Posture and stance. We want to look more like frames 5 and 8 versus anything else. We're a little overextended here on the right side. We're underextended on the left. The back's a little more rolled in the top corners. We have a flatter back, but the body position's just off. So we're really looking for a flat tabletop back, knees over shoelaces, ball out in front of the head. Now, so what I want you to see here is that every time we get into a stance, we're looking to elongate the spine, and we're looking to really create a flat back. So there's a hinge of the waist. It's not a squat. So the more we can focus on dropping the torso and hinging at the waist, you can see that there's a flat back. And then the snapper's able to get their arms out in front of them a little bit better. We'll go back to the slideshow here. Now, as we get into the next phase here, we're going to look at balance. So balance is extremely important. If you can start balance, you can end balance. So we're looking at a balanced stance. That's really important. So what I look for as a coach is I want to see their knees over their shoelaces, not knees over toes. So I get a lot of snappers that they think they want to have weight on the balls of their feet so they can be explosive and explode backwards. We want to be as controlled as possible. And snapping is the only position on the football field that you want to be flat-footed. It allows you to be in a controlled position throughout the entire throw. Snapping is also the only position we're expected to be perfect every single snap. A quarterback can throw an incomplete pass, live to play another day. As a snapper, if you have a bad snap, that could be the end of your career right there. So we got to make sure that these guys are as controlled as possible and balancing their stance. A balanced finish is extremely important. So at the end of their finish, they're looking to create extended position with the legs. We want their hips back behind their heels, and we want their core controlled. So if their hips are back behind their heels, it creates a counterbalance that stops them from tipping forward. We also don't want them falling backwards, so out of control with that body. And then when it comes to the hands, we also want them to be balanced. There should be a picture perfect mirrored image at the end. If there's not, if there's any kind of up and outward kind of finish with the hands, what's going to happen is it's going to affect the ball flight. It's going to cause the ball to be nose up. It's going to pull the ball. It could be a great ball, but it can lead to instances of a little bit of inconsistency down the road as well. So balance is really important. We're going to get into some balance drills. So my favorite balance drill in general is this ledge drill, where we focus on putting the heels on a ledge of some kind. So we'll close these out as we go, just so we clear up a little bit. We should be able to find that one here pretty quickly. Here it is. So we're going to put the heels on the ledge, and we're going to focus on balancing the body in this position. So the toes are off the ledge, heels are on, knees are over the shoelaces. As I go through this drill, I'm working on a crunch. Getting my hips behind my heels creates that counterbalance that allows me to stay up there. As we're there, I can then crunch, throw my barrel, and I can stay there all day. If my hips were to stack though, I'd end up falling forward off that ledge. So it's really important that we're smooth, we're controlled, we're deliberate with those hands at the finish. So a great opportunity to focus on that ledge position. The next one we're going to look at is a wall press drill. So this one is all about getting the hands in the right position and getting them to flow off this wall. So if we get here and we focus on putting the wall or our hands on the wall, we're looking at pressing the hands smoothly off that wall. So you can see he's peeling his hands off. This is the BC Lions long snapper. Riley Pickett did a great job this offseason, really performing and training his body to get better. But he's flowing those hands off the wall rather than just like firing them as aggressively as possible. But he's training them to flick. He's training them to be mirrored images, and he's creating his barrel at the finish too, which really helps create a punch. So that one's really important as well. It really helps guys feel that deliberateness. And then the last one here, we have Jojo Doman, who's a backup snapper for the Tennessee Titans. Basically, we're taking a soccer ball. We're able to press that ball straight ahead, focusing on the wrist snapping through and creating a punch. So we're looking to create that barrel effect while also going loose to tight, snapping those wrists to their absolutes, and really bringing that body into a compact position. So here, he's really locked in, seen through the barrel, and squeezing the chest, shoulders, chin, neck, traps. Everything is locking in on those to make sure that he's feeling what it's like to release a ball into that punch position. The next thing we're going to go into, getting back into this slideshow here, the difference between an efficient kinetic sequence versus just ineffective sequencing. So efficiency is key here. So the sequencing of your movement should be the same from sport to sport to sport. So it's really important that we look at, what does a baseball throw look like? How do you hit a hockey puck? How do you cast a fishing pole? The sequencing is always there. We start with the base, we build up through that, and the hands or the object is the last thing that comes through. So if we're looking at throwing a baseball, I step before I throw. I create separation, I can accelerate, I transfer energy from body to ball. A lot of big mistakes come from coaching cues. So we as coaches can help these athletes avoid these mistakes by simply helping them have a better state of mind going into it. They don't need to snap the ball as hard as possible. They don't need to be as aggressive as they can. They should not be leading with their elbows or hands. So those are probably the three biggest ones that clash and cause snappers to have issues down the road. So if we can allow them to be slow to fast, have acceleration versus quickness, and then really embrace the fact that there should be a step before a throw. And if I think about that, when I'm throwing a baseball, I step and I'm waiting, boom, before that throw comes through. As a snapper, there should be a similar effect. I bring my core through, I'm waiting, boom, and then the hands come through. It's not gonna feel slow, but there's a whippiness to it, a delay of the hands that really makes a big difference. And then another big detail is having a crunch versus a sit-up. So the core aspect is extremely important. We need guys to be able to pull and generate their movement with their core. But if they're doing a sit-up and they're throwing themselves through from the waist, it forces them in a poor position, creates more of a shove through the finish. If they create a pull and a crunch, they're able to hit a control position before they throw that punch through. It's more consistent, it's recreatable, it transfers energy better, and they're going to be able to see that rifle barrel a lot better too, so better body control in general. And then the biggest difference here that's new for a lot of guys, and this is kind of where we get to the advanced part, is open shoulders versus closed shoulders. Anytime you see a snapper with locked out arms, the very first thing that's going to happen is their elbows are going to hinge, they're going to pull, and that ball, which should be as far away from their center of gravity as possible, decreases that distance, and now they're in a compact position trying to create length or create speed. So we want to make sure that we're able to open elbows. Now, the biggest difference there, why we need open elbows. If I was going to throw a ball over my head or swing an axe, if my elbows were locked or tight or straight, it's not going to be conducive to pulling my head through first. So if I lock on my arms and try to pull my head first, I have a really tough time doing that. I feel tight. If I open up my elbows, I have free range of motion. It relaxes the back, it opens the chest. It allows me to pull, then my arms can rotate, then I can swing my axe, boom, boom, just like I'm throwing a hammer, swinging an axe, making that whippiness come to play. So it's really important that we're focused a little bit more on open and relax, because we want the snap, just like every throwing movement, to have a loose to tight component. There's no sport where starting tight and rigid and then breaking to relax and then getting back to tight really even comes to play. There's always a loose to tight sequence. So that's something that we really want to look at as well. Going into these, I have a couple of videos to show you. One of them is a college snapper that came in, and he thought he was really good. We had to break down what he was doing, understanding what's going on with his snap, and really make a lot of changes to see what's going on. So what I want to show you is that his arms were straight here. The very first thing that happened is he tried to move his ball first. He was told, move your ball first because it creates more power. See how the ball comes right to his face. If he had a helmet on, he'd be smacking that thing. The next thing we're looking at, because he pulled the ball first, the legs and the hands fire at the same time, causing him to kick back with his feet. Now, the biggest thing I like to describe to guys, what's the difference between a quarterback in the pocket versus a quarterback on the run? Now, as a quarterback, it's an open skill. There's different situations. You're throwing from different positions. But it's very well known that a quarterback in the pocket can be more accurate, more controlled, throw a better ball in general. On the run, you can still throw a good ball, and this snapper was throwing a good ball, but because they're on the run or moving through the throw, it's harder to create a block, it's harder to be accurate, it's harder to build a good amount of speed through their throw. So we want to make sure that we're not leading with the arms, but we're allowing them to follow. So this is a great example of a pull to start, a lack of sequencing that causes the feet to kick back, and then a sit up versus a crunch. So at the end here, you can see where his hands end up. He's throwing that ball up, swinging through, hoping the ball goes to the target. Now the next